Hey YouTube, this is Robert in S816, and today we have another sorta kinda repair video. So, if any of you have taken apart a Genesis, you pretty much already know what this is. So this is a Model 1 motherboard. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because I finally got my hands on a broken Model 1 Genesis. So this is the broken one, this is the broken board. And I basically cannibalized this broken Genesis to use in my other Genesis. So a buddy of mine gave me this one to use as parts, so thank you very much. So anyways, I was able to finally get rid of this ugly wire setup. Even though I repaired it, it's still, I don't know, if you've ever met someone with crazy OCD, you would know that this pretty much pains you to look at, because this is it's not how it's supposed to be. This isn't how it came from the factory. So this, even though it works fine, it was bugging me. So I swapped out the power wire and socket, both voltage regulators. So here's the original voltage regulators. These are Motorola 7805Cs, and I swapped these out. These actually work fine. I swapped them out for the 7805CTs, which is what this one came with, and those are a little bit newer and they run a little bit cooler than the older ones do. So hopefully that'll keep the temperatures down a little bit. If anyone knows about the older Genesis consoles, especially when they have a game like Virtual Racing in them, they tend to run a bit hot. So yeah, anything you can get here when you can get these things to run a little bit cooler is definitely welcome. And these, right now, if I have my hand on it, I've had this thing running for a good half hour, and it's nice and cool. So that's definitely a good thing. Yeah, so those were the two main parts that I really wanted to swap out. Well, actually, the regulators were unintentional, but I did them anyway just because I knew I could. What else? Oh, yeah, so this shell is in immaculate condition, by the way. It was really filthy, but my tendencies to clean every damn thing I get for some reason get the better of me. So, and yes, it's raining outside. So yeah, anyway, cleaned up that shell, really nice. Here's the original RF shielding. So there's that ugly solder spot from before, from the other person that attempted to work on this thing. Really disgusting. Here's all the old hardware, and as you can see, the whole bottom of this tray or RF shielding is completely like rusted. So the camera's not really picking it up too well, but the whole entire bottom of this shield is like light brown. It's pretty much covered in rust, and it looks like someone took a Brillo pad to the bottom of this RF shielding and basically just went to town and destroyed it. So that is it's a shame. So this Genesis is not a total loss, I don't think. At first glance with this thing, when I looked at it, I was like, this thing cleaned up way too well for it to be broken. And I mean, there's no real cosmetic flaws. There's no real signs that it was dropped or abused or anything like that. By the way, I also used all the hardware from this one and put it into this Genesis here, because it's just, it's nice having untouched original hardware put back into where it's supposed to be. But anyway, getting back to the other problem at hand, this is more or less a project, just something I could maybe get going again. This Genesis, basically, it powers on, but it doesn't do anything. So try cleaning up the cartridge. That didn't do anything. Tried hitting the reset button. Was actually one of the funny things too. Usually when you push the reset buttons, you'll get like a little screen flicker. I wasn't even getting that. The only thing that was happening with this particular Genesis when you turn it on is the screen would just go blank. So like on this TV, when you turn the power onto something, you will get the AV signal, and then it'll go away once it starts receiving a signal of some type. So it's sending out a signal, but there's just no video, no sound, no nothing. So I'm going to have to refocus here, but we'll see in a second. Okay, so we're back to the motherboard, and this is, I believe, this is the logic processor, I think. Or maybe this is the video processor, and that's the logic processor. I'm not really too sure. Anyways, the problem with this board, I think, is, well, first of all, these two jumper wires these two jumper wires here were actually pretty badly corroded. So as you can see on the base here of where these pads are supposed to be, that's completely corroded away. So I kind of probed both of these with my continuity tester, and the wire itself is getting continuity across the entire wire, so it's going from this pad to the memory where it's supposed to. However, if you look on these traces here, let's see what I can point to it. There we go. A pencil. Pencil's always good. If you look at these traces here by 120, they're all black, and these are not making contact anymore. And these three traces go from these jumper wires to this processor here. So yeah, I mean the middle trace is the only one that works still, but the other two do not do anything. So I'm pretty sure that these have corroded, and they're not doing what they're supposed to. So I'm not sure if that's enough to kill the entire Genesis or what. Since they go to the memory chip, I'm going to assume that it is, but no idea. So anyways, what I'm going to do is tomorrow I'm going to attempt to jump these wires, or these traces here, going from here to JP7 and JP6, and see if that maybe fixes the problem. If not, then it's not really that big of a deal. And I say it's not really that big of a deal because I pretty much got this Genesis for free, with the idea that I was going to use this one for parts anyway to fix my other Genesis. So when push comes to shove, I like this one better than this one. So it's just, I mean, cosmetically they're both in good shape, but I don't know, I just kind of like the older ones better, the non-security chipped ones. So this is a VA3 revision, and this is these are supposed to be VA 6.8 boards. At least that's what I thought, because it's missing the serial port in the back. But looking at the board, it still says, where is it? It still says VA5, VA6. So yeah, it still says VA5, VA6, and I'm really just, I don't know, I would have assumed that it would have said VA 6.8 on it, but I guess that's not the case. So yeah, I mean, if anyone has any more insight on these, or if you're any more educated on fixing these things, or knowing about board revisions on these Genesis consoles, I'd be interested to know. The whole reason why I kind of want to get this to work, besides the fact that it could just be a fun project or whatever, is I heard that these particular versions of the Genesis with the VA 6.8 board actually have the best video quality. So after looking at it, they both have the same video encoder, which I think this is the CXA. Where is it? I can't even read what it says. Ugh. Let's see if I can get that on. There it is, CXA 1034P, and I think that's the video encoder. So yeah, I was hearing or reading about that this particular version of the Genesis actually has the best video quality out of any Genesis console. So that just could be cool to see if I can get this one up and running. I don't really know if that's true or not, and the only reason is that, again, this is an older VA3 revision, so it's like one of the first ones, and the video quality I get out of it is actually just fine. So yeah, everyone always says how the early Genesis consoles have like rainbow banding and jail bars on them, and I actually have two Genesis consoles with a VA3 board, and they seem to be perfectly fine. There's no jail bars to speak of or anything, and I mean, I don't know, no idea. The Genesis console that's up there, mounted on the Sega CD, is a VA6 board, and that one is the same, or VA5 rather, and that one has pretty much the same video quality as this one does, so I really don't see any advantages so far between the two, and maybe, just maybe, there is actually an advantage between this Genesis here and that one. Who knows? If I can get it to work tomorrow, I guess I'll post the results, but Until then, just a little tiny update. Thanks for watching, guys.